Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are tackling Yuval Noah Harari's Homo Deus in this deep dive.
Yeah,
This book is jam-packed with ideas about humanity's past, present, and future, and especially our quest for happiness.
it really
So
is.
we are going to unpack Harari's core arguments, uncover the surprising links between ancient beliefs and today's world,
Right,
and what this all means for you. So get ready for some serious aha moments.
definitely. I think what makes Harari so fascinating is his willingness to just tackle those really big
It
questions.
does.
You
Yeah.
know, he dives right into the heart of what it means to be human in this age of, crazy technological advancement.
He really does. And he starts off with a real attention grabber. So you know how famine, plague, and war used to be these terrifying, unstoppable forces?
Yeah,
Harari says we flip the script. He says that we now see them as solvable problems,
right.
which is a total mind shift.
Absolutely. It's a huge shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And to really grasp this, let's take a trip back in time to 1694.
Okay.
Harari describes this horrific famine in Beauvais, France,
All right.
where people were so desperate they were resorting to eating cats, scraps of leather, even weeds, just to survive.
Wow.
It's hard to even fathom that level of desperation.
It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But you know, it's so fascinating.
What's that?
Back then, people saw these events as divine punishment.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It was totally out of their control.
Mm-hmm.
But then Harari contrasts that with the 2014 Ebola outbreak. Of course, it was a tragedy,
Of course. Yeah.
but there was this global outcry, this immediate mobilization of resources, and this underlying assumption that we should be able to prevent this kind of thing.
Exactly. And that's the key difference. We no longer just accept these events as fate.
Right.
We believe in our ability to control our destiny through knowledge. And this belief, this equation of problems needing more stuff, more production, fueled the Industrial Revolution
Okay.
and gave rise to capitalism.
Okay, let's unpack this because this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So you're saying that capitalism, for all its flaws, actually played a role in reducing famine, plague, and war.
Exactly. Think about the incentives that capitalism creates. It rewards innovation in technology and agriculture, leading to greater efficiency and productivity. We've seen these incredible advancements in food production, healthcare. And on top of that, capitalism encourages the development of global trade networks, so resources can be distributed more effectively. This isn't to say that capitalism is perfect by any means, but it has undoubtedly contributed to our ability to mitigate those age-old threats.
That's a perspective I hadn't really considered before.
Yeah.
It's like we've replaced faith in a higher power with faith in our own systems.
It's a new kind of faith. Think about credit, for example. It's entirely based on this promise of future wealth. Imagine what a plague would have meant for lenders in the past. Total chaos.
Right.
But today, a pandemic, while tragic, is analyzed for its impact on the stock market.
Yeah.
We trust that the system, even if shaken, will rebound.
It's wild to think about how much our perception of these threats has changed and how this new faith in progress has, at least for now, reshaped our world.
And it's this very shift that sets the stage for the next major transformation Harari explores, the rise of humanism.
All right, so we've gone from fearing the wrath of gods to trusting in the power of production. Where does humanism fit into all of this? This is where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
So we've conquered those age-old threats, at least for now.
Yeah.
But instead of kicking back and enjoying our newfound security, Harari says humans just can't resist a good challenge.
Right.
We're hardwired for problem solving, right?
Yeah.
So what happens next?
Well,
Enter
yeah.
humanism.
You know,
It's like we slayed the external dragons and decided, okay, let's explore the inner universe instead.
exactly. And this shift inward, it led to a totally new way of seeing the world.
Okay.
Harari illustrates this with the evolution of art.
Okay.
So think about ancient epics like the Odyssey, right?
Right.
These action-packed stories about heroes battling gods and monsters.
Right.
But modern art, whether it's James Joyce's Ulysses or even something like reality TV, it's all about inner lives, emotions, the subjective experience.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Think about your favorite book or movie. What grabs you more? The plot, twists and explosions, or those quiet moments where the characters are wrestling with their feelings.
Right.
You know?
And this focus on the individual experience initially seemed like the answer.
Oh.
Like we would finally crack the code of what truly mattered. But as Harari points out, this inward turn brought about its own set of complexities.
Oh, how so?
Well, if everyone's individual feelings are paramount, whose feelings take priority when they clash? How do we balance the needs of one person against another or against the needs of society as a whole?
He illustrates this with a really powerful anecdote about Angela Merkel and the young Palestinian refugee Reem,
Yes.
where, Reem's family is facing deportation,
Right.
and she pleads with Merkel, explaining how difficult it is to see others living these carefree lives while she's, living with so much uncertainty.
Right.
And Merkel, while clearly sympathetic, explains that Germany can't open its borders to everyone, which is such a tough, situation.
It is. It's such a poignant example because it highlights that central tension of humanism in action.
Yeah.
If individual feelings are the ultimate source of meaning and moral value, how do we reconcile conflicting experiences and needs?
Right.
And this tension, as Harari argues, it led humanism to forge this sometimes uncomfortable alliance with nationalism.
So it's like we were trying to find a balance between the celebration of individual experience
Yeah.
and the need for some kind of collective identity, a shared set of values.
Exactly. The idea was that shared national identity could provide this framework
Yeah.
for navigating these inevitable clashes between individual experiences.
Okay.
A way to determine, whose happiness, whose well-being should be prioritized.
Which takes us straight to some pretty thorny issues.
Yeah.
Like immigration debates, cultural clashes, the limits of empathy.
So-
If we're all about individual feelings, how do we decide who belongs to the we of a nation?
Right.
And then Harari throws another wrench in the works, the discoveries of cognitive science.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about this idea of the experiencing self versus the narrating self,
Yes.
which sounds like something straight out of psychology class.
It does. But it's more relatable than you might think.
Okay.
Ever make a New Year's resolution to eat healthier?
Yeah.
But then find yourself reaching for that extra slice of pizza. That's your narrating self.
Mm-hmm.
The one making plans getting completely sabotaged by your experiencing self, the one actually living in the moment
Right.
and making choices based on immediate desires.
Oh, I see. So it's like we're battling ourselves from within,
Exactly.
which is fascinating and a little terrifying.
Yeah. And this internal struggle, it's central to understanding this whole idea of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can't even trust our own memories and perceptions, how do we know what will truly make us happy in the long run?
It makes you wonder, right? I mean, we've all made decisions that we regret.
Oh, absolutely.
Choices that seemed good in the moment, but turned out to be based on, flawed logic or fleeting emotions.
For sure. And Harari uses this study by Daniel Kahneman
Oh, right.
to highlight just how unreliable our memories can be, especially when it comes to happiness. So he describes how Kahneman studied people's memories of painful colonoscopies.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd think the longer the procedure, the worse the memory, right?
That makes sense.
But that's not what Kahneman found.
This is the part that totally blew my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
It turned out that what people remembered most wasn't the duration of the procedure, but the intensity of the pain.
At the peak.
At its peak and at the very end.
Oh, wow.
So even if a shorter procedure had a few moments of really intense pain, it was remembered as being worse than a longer procedure with less intense pain overall.
Wow.
Yeah. Which totally upends our assumptions about how we experience and remember even significant events.
Okay, so our memories are basically unreliable narrators.
Pretty much.
That's hilarious and a little disturbing. But what does this have to do with AI and the future of happiness? So we've gone from famine in 17th century France to questioning our own memories,
Yeah.
all thanks to Yuval Noah Harari. This book, Homo Deus, has taken us on quite a journey.
It has.
But here's where things get really wild. We've talked
Yeah.
about, conquering those external threats and
Right.
grappling with the complexities of humanism.
Yeah.
But now we're facing this whole new frontier, artificial intelligence. And Harari doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't.
He dives right into how AI could completely revolutionize, maybe even redefine our pursuit of happiness.
It's true. He
Mhm.
challenges us to consider what happens when AI knows us better than we know ourselves.
Oh, wow.
Remember those unreliable memories we were just talking about?
Yeah,
Well, AI has perfect recall.
of course.
It can analyze these massive amounts of data
Right.
about our preferences, our habits, even our subconscious desires.
So it's like having this super intelligent sidekick
Yeah.
who can predict what we'll want before we even know it ourselves. Which sounds amazing on one hand, but also kind of creepy, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Imagine a world where Google, with all its data about our search history, our location,
Right.
maybe even our biometric data from wearables,
Yep.
can use AI to start making better choices for us.
Okay.
And we're not just talking about like personalized recommendations here, but potentially life-altering decisions.
Really?
What if AI could choose the perfect career path for us based on our skills and aptitudes, or even select the ideal partner based on compatibility algorithms?
Whoa. Okay, that's a lot to process.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's tempting to think AI could eliminate a lot of stress and uncertainty, no
Mhm.
more agonizing over these big decisions. But it does make you wonder about free will, right? If an algorithm is calling the shots, are we really in control of our lives?
That's the question, isn't it? It
Yeah.
really makes you think about what does it mean to have free will in a world where these algorithms know us so well?
And what happens to those spontaneous moments of joy?
Yeah,
Those happy accidents that make life interesting?
right. Those are really important too.
Yeah.
And that's where I think Harari's insights into the nature of happiness, they become even more crucial
Okay.
because he lays out these potential scenarios for the future,
Okay.
each one more mind-blowing than the last.
Oh, gosh.
One possibility is that humans simply become irrelevant.
What?
AI surpasses our cognitive abilities.
Okay.
We lose our economic and military usefulness.
So we become like the family pet,
Kind of, yeah.
kept comfortable and entertained, but not really essential to the functioning of society. That's both sad and a little humiliating.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it leads to some really unsettling questions about the value of human life in this AI-dominated world.
Yeah.
If algorithms are making all the decisions and doing it, arguably more efficiently than we ever could, what purpose do we serve?
Okay, so that's scenario one. Humans become irrelevant.
Right.
What's next?
Well, Harari suggests another possibility, this shift from individual value to collective value.
Okay.
So instead of focusing on the happiness of each individual, the goal becomes maximizing the well-being of the entire system,
Interesting.
of the collective,
So instead of worrying about whether I'm happy,
right?
we're more concerned with like the overall flow of data, the efficiency of the network. It's almost like a kind of digital utilitarianism,
That's
right?
very much like that.
The greatest good for the greatest number of algorithms,
You could say that, yeah.
which is wild.
And this raises all sorts of questions about what happens to individual rights, to privacy, to things like love and compassion.
Right.
Are these just inefficiencies that need to be optimized away for the sake of the collective good?
It's pretty intense stuff.
It is.
And it makes you wonder, if an AI system determined that sacrificing a few individuals would lead to a greater overall increase in happiness for the majority, would we be okay with that? Where do we draw the line?
Right. These are huge ethical questions.
Yeah.
And I think they're questions we need to be thinking about now
Yeah.
before these technologies become so advanced that we've ceded control.
That makes sense.
We need to be having these conversations,
Yeah.
really grappling with these dilemmas.
All right, we've talked about humans becoming irrelevant and this shift towards a collective consciousness.
Right.
There was one more scenario, right? Tell me it's not robot overlords.
Well, it's not quite robot overlords,
Okay.
but it's close. Harari suggests this third possibility, the emergence of a new superhuman elite. He argues that technology, especially biotechnology, could create a class of humans so enhanced, so different from the rest of us, that they effectively become a new species.
Wow.
Imagine genetic engineering to eliminate diseases, brain-computer interfaces to enhance cognitive abilities, even the possibility of merging with AI.
So we're not just talking about like living longer or having like a higher IQ.
Right.
We're talking about fundamentally altering what it means to be human. It's like we're creating our own gods, isn't it?
It's a very powerful concept.
It is.
And it really makes you question, where is all of this headed?
Where does this leave the rest of us? The unenhanced, the unplugged.
Right. What happens to the people who don't have access to these technologies or who choose not to use them?
It's a lot to think about.
It really is.
And you know what? I think I'm going to leave it right there. We started with famine in 17th century France, and now we're pondering the potential rise of a superhuman species.
Yeah, quite a range of topics.
This deep dive into Harari's Homo Deus has been a wild ride. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the future of happiness is anything but certain.
It's true, we don't have a crystal ball.
It's up to us to decide what we value most,
Absolutely.
what kind of future we want to create,
Yeah.
and how we navigate this incredible and sometimes unsettling world of technological advancement.
I think that's a great takeaway.
So to our listeners, what resonates with you most? What kind of future do you envision? Harari doesn't give us any easy answers,
He doesn't.
but he gives us a lot to chew on.
He does.
And I think that's what makes Homo Deus such a captivating and thought-provoking read.
It really is a book that gets you thinking.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the big questions.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.